close enough. Okay, so a lot of people come to the presentation of whatever it might be, whether you're trying to raise capital, getting a new client, or all of the above, as if it's the end game in itself. Generally speaking, it isn't. And so I'll start by building some context around it for you, because it tends to relax most people about the presentation as just a step on the journey. So if we think about it as a journey here, the purpose of that is up here we're going to have somebody give us some money for capital. Anybody facing that kind of challenge in the future?
Hopefully.
Okay, hopefully. Let's argue you want to get somebody to give you $1 million, right? So what precedes giving you that $1 million is probably somewhere here we have a document and we have signed it. Would that be a fair assumption? And before we get it signed, we probably have some kind of negotiation. And before that, we probably have a presentation, which is a final thing to the investment committee if it's a firm or something like that. So that's the presentation here. And before that, we have a coffee with somebody to prepare for that. And before that, we send, do you see where this is going?
Yeah.
And before that, over here, we probably had a first presentation for one person. Before that, again, we probably had a very first, this is, hey, I met you at the coffee shop the other day. Do you have 10 minutes over a coffee? And can I just present this thing to you? So you typically see there are multiple instances where you present, and it's not the end of the world. In other words, the presentation is just a bump on the road, and you just keep going to the next one. Does that make sense? So what this also illustrates is that you probably need different kinds of presentations. So there are, in simple terms, there is like the elevator pitch, as some people refer to it as. You just got in the elevator, what do you do?
Business and technology professional.
Thank you. And so I can see that, say that, or hear that before I even got to the first floor. That's probably good. Thank you. Then there is the formal. I now have a panel of people that I'm pitching to, presenting to. And then there's this thing that's in the middle, which is when I've organised a meeting with Ali, we just sit down in the meeting room, we just talk about, oh, let me tell you more about the business, right? Da 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 da. I'm just picking on you because nobody, right? But it's like, there's at least those three significantly different styles. And you can intermix all of those three styles with each other. So if I'm here to sell my $1 million investment, I know Ali's got lots of money, I want to get money out of her, right? And then instead of saying, hey, have I got a deal for you? I would say, so what kind of thing do you like to invest in? And suddenly Ali is now forced into presenting to me. Hang on, what did I just do? I just reversed the whole scenario, didn't I? You see what I did there? In an instant, I flipped the whole thing around. In the startup world that some of you live in, there's a lot of myth going around what you're supposed to do. I'd like to take this opportunity to tell you that most of what you're supposed to do is actually not true. Unless you're in a situation where there's a big event and there's another 25 startups pitching, do not pitch. I know that sounds pretty weird, right? Don't pitch. Why? Because have I got a deal for you and I'm better than yours is a very un-Australian way of presenting ourselves. And presumably most of the people you're presenting to are Australians, investors. They don't actually like it. But it's become a cultural norm that in these kind of pitch competitions, and hey, I'm being part of pitch comp, like I'm not presenting, but I'm there to support next week for a big event in Sydney. Friends of mine run it. And yes, it's a big pitch comp, so it's still a thing. I'm not saying it has disappeared, but there's lots of opportunities, particularly when you're not in front of a panel of people, in front of judges or whatever, where you can reverse it completely. Does that make sense to everybody? Questions around that? Yes? No? Everybody good?
Is there the risk of offending someone by, because you're dealing, hopefully you're dealing with a fairly intelligent person who will see what you've done?
Yes, but hopefully you're also dealing with a person that has some degree of emotional maturity, so they have some degree of, oh, that's really nice, you actually take an interest about me. Oh, wow. I sat with an investor, spoke to an investor, or emailed him just a couple of days ago, we're closing a deal with him, and one of his investees, so one of the companies he's previously invested in, he sent up to us as now one of our clients, and I sat with the founder of this client, and I said, well, no, what do you think about so-and-so? Okay. And he pipes in and says, you know what? Rod really hates how people come and see him. I says, what do you mean? Because everyone only comes to see him because they know he's got money. I'm like, whoa. Seriously? And I thought, fucking hell, that's a good point. Everyone comes to see him just because they know he's got money. Don't give a fuck about him, his family, his life, his history, whatever. They just, oh, I know you got money. Oh, you've got money, haven't you? Right? That's how they all come into his office. And so his stand-up post is sitting behind a big desk with arms folded and leaned back in a chair, holding, and he's got a sign on his desk that says no, N-O, the only two letters on that sign. Right? Why? Because everybody wants to come and have something. So, in order to get him across, I spent 5 meetings talking about his family, about culture, about religion, about the weather, about everything else. And every time we sat down for an hour, we spent the last 5 minutes talking about the deal. The first 55 minutes is about nothing about the deal, because you can't really talk that long about a deal. What's the deal terms? Okay, $400,000, 15%, blah, 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 whatever it might be. Like, how long can you spend about that? It's kind of boring. Do you see what I mean? So why just socialize, 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 socialize? Is that helpful? Think about that. You are building a relationship with another human. So the interesting thing is this thing here is no different if this is not $1 million worth of capital, but this is, let's call it maybe not $1 million, but let's call it $100,000 worth of a contract for some kind of revenue. Is that any different? Or have an initial, hey, chat in the lift, oh God, you do that kind of stuff? Could you give me a call, we look for someone that can do that? Oh yeah, okay, let's have a presser. Oh yeah, that was the minions. Okay, let's live here. Oh, let's have a coffee with the guy that sits on as the chairman on the board. Okay, let's get in and see how it goes. The same. Has any one of you ever sold anything? You sold something? You sold? You selling? Yes? Have you ever sold anything? Yes? Okay. Therefore you can do this. There is no magic. There is indeed no such thing as raising capital. It doesn't exist. It's bullshit. It's a term invented by people that like to sell you some stuff that you're going to pay money for, but you don't need. What are you really doing when you're raising capital? You're selling shares, are you not? You know, I give you some shares, you give me the money. Raising capital is the fancy term. Right? My purpose here tonight is to bust at least 25 minutes before we kick you out of the room, right? But it's just a term that makes this seem also fancy. Sorry, but we're just selling some shares. Process of sales here versus process of raising capital is identical. I haven't yet figured anything out. If I'm going to make a sale for $1 million to BHP, what do? Socialize, 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 socialize. The same thing. I'm going to go in and talk about how bright my product is and so on. Yeah, but not for 5 meetings. Jesus, they would die, wouldn't they? I can do it for 1 meeting. And they go, oh yeah, we got it. Yeah, we read your spec sheet. Thank you very much. Oh yeah, got some references. Yeah, okay, we checked them out. They're good. Okay, good. Thank you. Socialize, socialize. So, ring a bell?
Yeah.
So, the problem that we face is to get ourselves out of this presenter mode, pitch mode, the rah-rah, hey, I'm here to sell you some shit, and I'm just awesome, and you should listen to me because I'm standing up here, instead of sitting down here and having a conversation with Ali on a one-on-one. Level with people if you can. Right? So, there's a couple of things that I observe, because we've done this training with quite a lot of people now over the last, 2.5, 3 years, whatever it is. And there's a lot of people that have what I would call mannerisms around their presentation. So part of what I'll try and teach you very quickly, and then we'll actually start getting those of you that have courage enough to stand up here, because the purpose of tonight is not for me predominantly to stand up here, but for you to predominantly stand up here, and for all of us, and Malcolm and me in particular, to critique and improve how you stand up here. So there are things you can do to present better. A lot of us have grown up with PowerPoint. Does anyone here love PowerPoint or Keynote? Doesn't matter which one it is. Yes? We all have some deep experience with PowerPoint and Keynote. It's a great tool. You know what my best presentation tool is? Is that I walk over to my laptop, and I got PowerPoint, I got Keynote, I got all these other things, and I do this. Because I'm no longer bound by what that thing tells me I'm supposed to say next. Now, does that require a higher level of insight knowledge of what's on my slides? Well, yeah. Does that feel scary? Yes, it's just about, I just literally dropped my pen snap on stage in front of everybody. Oh my God, I don't have slides, what am I going to do? It's a crutch. The slides, generally speaking, for most people, work as a crutch. My view with slides is that, and a lot of people want to use them, and I'm not saying they're wrong, but you've got to be very, very mindful of how you use them. This is just what? Modern technology. This is amazing space in here for these gizmos and gadgets. I'll probably break it before I go. Okay, so think about very basic presentation with, oh, that's a bit short, 4 slides, maybe 5. Which 5 slides in there? So what most people do is they write down here, I'm going to say this, I'm going to say that, I'm going to say this, I'm going to say that, I'm going to say this, I'm going to say that, I'm going to say this, I'm going to say that, and then start reading. How many people have you ever presented to that could not read? Hands up. Anyone? Do you present to a lot of people that can't read? No. So let them fucking read. Don't disturb their reading. We have 2 eyes and 2 ears, and unbeknownst to most people, they can actually work independently of each other. For real, in real time. So you might have some graphical picture, or you might have a map, or you might have a chart that shows you something, but you might say something entirely different at the same time. Obviously not something that counterbalances what is still going to support that, but you don't have to say what you're going to say up on the slide. That is not necessary. Because most people are smart human beings, particularly if you're presenting to investors or to the board of BHP or whoever else you're selling to, and they can figure it out. The human brain is very adept, particularly reading pictures. And the difference is that up here you can convey a ton of emotions through a couple of pictures, whereas if you're going to present the same kind of emotions through your speech, it's kind of difficult. You've got to tell a big story, right? You can also flip it around. Give me a sec. You can also flip it around and have a very emotional story and have nothing up here for a moment. What I'm trying to say is break it up so we're not just reading off the slides, because I see that way too many people doing that, and it's just wasting people's time and mental capacity. Yes, sir.
Are pictures, photos better than graphics to raise emotions?
Generally speaking, photos will work better, but that's a very general, like it's got to be a great photo, otherwise it doesn't work.
It would be a photo of me, it would be very great.
Could be, but it's probably not appropriate in that context. But nice try. The problem with pictures is, like with photos, is that it's harder to control the interpretation of those images, whereas if it's a drawing or a cartoon, it's generally speaking easier to control the emotion of what people see in that, right?
Is it so the cartoon can dilute the emotions, or?
No, it can be just as strong, but if you think about, so say it's on a cartoon, but just a drawn image,
Yeah.
yeah, because of the simplicity of, say, it's just black lines on white, it's very hard to interpret that in more than one way by different people. Whereas if you have a pretty picture like a photo, people might see different things, kind of awaken different memories in them, and they're, oh, think about the day we walked in the woods, and you're not talking about walking in the woods
Are
at
they
all.
going to drift away?
Exactly, their thoughts go elsewhere.
Right.
So that's what you've got to be watching out for. So if you're choosing photos, our experience is actually really hard to find good photos. It's actually really, really difficult. Like you spend hours on it, literally
It's not
hours.
worth the time.
Well, it could be worth the time, because if you find that one photo that just tells 1,000 words, well, that's probably worth 2 hours. But don't just go to Google and just take a random first image that shows up. That
Correct.
is a big mistake. So think about the fact that you've got layers of communication. So the first layer is the visual that goes up here, assuming you use slides. The second layer you have is your voice. Now, most people just speak like a flat tone like this, and it sounds pretty boring because you just keep going and eventually they will fall asleep. Right? Don't do that. Use your accent. Go up, go down. Pause. The best trick I've ever learned, because I've had to learn all this from scratch. I wasn't a natural born person standing up here. It's not what I was born with. The best trick I know is to say nothing. 20 to 30 seconds. But I can tell you that is really scary when you're standing in front of 1,000 people. But you get their attention. Suddenly all the heads that were playing with their phones, they look up and go, uh-oh, everyone went quiet, are they all looking at me, what's going on? And now you have their attention. So take a deep breath, slow down. Another thing a lot of people do is they speak way too fast. And it's not because people are stupid, but they simply can't figure out what you're saying because it's going so fast. So how do we use our bodies? Became very quiet.
Yeah,
Right.
that's one thing.
It's nice. See how I could lower my voice. You have to pay more attention to what I'm saying. But have you noticed how I'm using my arms at the same time? You can do the same. Now, with all due respect, don't be Italian, right? This is not about kind of thing, because that's distracting, right? But use your hands, use your arms, and use your pose. So, what does this indicate?
Close.
Mm-hmm. What does the cross leg also mean? How am I standing right now? Am I on solid ground? No, I'm just about toppling over. By staying like this, gives a sense of solidity. How does that portray my message out to the people I'm speaking to? As a solid message. I'm a solid presenter, I should be trusted. If I really want to emphasize a point, what do? I step closer. Right? If I'm describing a timeline, what do? I move across the timeline. In that direction, by the way, because that's how you're viewing me. If I walk this way, I'm going backwards. Which is of course difficult when I'm standing up here because I'm sort of need to turn around, right? Do you get what I'm saying? So you can see with some really simple tricks, you can actually make a presentation alright. Do you know how to want to kill your presentation?